Who will our next generation be? What will they achieve? At Proctor Public Schools, we see great things in the future as we create an environment to educate, engage, and inspire our students to seek adventure, gain knowledge, and make a difference. What do we see in the next generation? We see greatness. Proctor Public Schools. Don't just plan to graduate. Graduate with a plan.
We'll call to order the regular school board meeting of June 28th, 2021. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. The flag is back here. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, we will begin with roll call.
McDonald.
Here.
Parmeter. Here. Peterson. Here. Podgornik.
Here.
Shelton. Ward. Did I hear Larry was not going to be here tonight?
No.
Well, Larry's here, but Joe is
Not Joe. Sorry, Joe.
That's true.
Okay. Thank you.
I'm here too. I don't know why you keep.
You know why? I can tell you why. Because once I hit mine, this little tab moves over.
It did it last week, too.
It did. Pokranich.
Present.
Student liaison members, Sydney Hadrick. And Sophia Morin Swanson. Thank you.
Thank you, Lynn. Item number 4 on the agenda is an approval of the agenda as presented in your packet. I don't think I saw any changes. There's a motion from Larry. Is there a second?
Second by Amy.
Second by Amy. Does anyone have any questions regarding the agenda? I'll just make a comment. If on Mondays, we try very hard to not make changes to the board packet that you get in your hands on Mondays. So what you get on Thursday should be the official. Sometimes things have to get changed. And so there would be amendments made, and they're always bolded and kind of noted in your packet with a couple arrows to draw attention when you get your packet. And I'll always try to make sure I mention that, and the changes in there. Just for Kim and Jim, just so you know that, okay? But there are no changes.
Mm-hmm.
Madam Chair, there's one slight change.
What?
And it came rather late, and it's in the commendations.
Where?
The alternate state bound for the Clay Target State Championship.
Okay.
Owen Forsman. We just put it in there because we didn't want to do an amended.
Sure, that's fine.
And Lori was gone, so it's very unique.
Okay.
I see that, and I have that in my notes. I can see it in here. Okay.
That it was
thank you.
added?
Yeah,
Okay,
Owen
okay.
Forsman is under.
Forstrom, right?
Let me see.
Commendations for the Clay Target League. It's in the printed one.
Okay, yeah,
All
right
right.
there, alternate state bound.
Okay. All right, but usually they'd be bolded and having arrows on the side.
It's a good plan.
It's a good plan.
And
It's
sometimes
okay.
people call everybody's name in the beginning of the meeting too.
We're having too much fun in person, you guys. Okay, anyways, there's a motion and a second with the approval of the agenda. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And those opposed? And that motion carries. Item number 5 is an approval of the minutes of the regular school board meeting from June 14th, 2021. We are looking for a motion.
So moved by Amy.
There's a motion by Amy. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you,
Parmeter.
Kim. Does anyone have any questions regarding these minutes? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 And those opposed? And that item carries as well. Moving on to the finance report. We are looking for a motion that will include approving the payment of bills dated June 28th, 2021 in the amount of $123,857.82, covering checks 110048 through 110170 And also to approve the electronic transfers and payrolls for May 2021. The electronic transfers in the amount of $2,500,000 and payrolls in the amount of $2,091,708.18. Is there a motion? There's a motion by Lim. Is there a second? Second by Amy. Does anyone have any questions tonight regarding the finance report? All right. Thank you. Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. And those opposed? And that motion carries as well. We will move on to commendations and congratulations. The board would like to commend Danielle Bowden for her assistance in handling the vandalism that occurred at Bayview Elementary Playground. We would like to congratulate the Proctor Rails Clay Target team for placing first in the conference. 6 members participated in the Minnesota State High School League State Championship in Alexandria on June 25th. Those participating were Alana Carlson, Tristan Parrott, Kyle Ward, Max Stoneburner, Jake Jorgensen, and Owen Forstrom was the alternate that were found. I heard something about Alana. There was a group of boys gathered around asking who they were shooting with, and they referred to her as that chick over there because she's good. It was kind of a bunch of them and then the really good female athlete. Congratulations to those athletes. Congratulations to Evan Bowen, Zach Schnabel, Caleb Madison, Josh Warner, Gabe Castleman, and Josh Knight for qualifying for the state track meet. Congratulations to Owen Brenna, Trevor Lindberg, Evan Bowen, Zach Schnabel, Caleb Madison, John Warner, and Gabe Castleman for making the all-time top 20 performance lists for track. Congratulations to the boys track team for obtaining team all-state academic gold level, which is the 4th year in a row for our team. This honor is based on the top 10 GPAs on the team. The board would also like to congratulate the following track members: John Warner, Evan Bowen, Zach Schnabel, for receiving individual all-state academic awards. More congratulations go to Zach Schnabel, Caleb Madison, John Warner, and Evan Bowen for earning all-state honors based on their performance in the 4x4 at the state meet. The board would like to congratulate Zach Schnabel for making all-conference in the long jump. And the board would like to congratulate Courtney Warner, who placed 3rd in the 400 at state and broke the school record. Congratulations also goes out to Hope Carlson, Jamie Haugen, McKenna Kleiman, and Courtney Warner for their 7th place finish in the 4x4. And congratulations to Lizzie Harnell for her state competition debut in the 3200. Are there any other commendations or congratulations that we may have missed? We tried to grab them all. There were quite a few that straggled in last week. Okay.
Does the 3200 have a comma?
I don't know. No.
I didn't think so.
Okay.
I'll eliminate it.
Again, John Engelping is the superintendent. He is not the secretary.
No, I just saw the comma. I thought, well, that looks weird. The 3200.
We're picking.
Yeah, no comma.
Normally, in money it is.
Yeah,
but
in money it is.
In the meters, no.
We're not
And I'm just
doing
giving John a hard time because he had
Only
to.
Lynn would pick that up.
Right, and John had to help to put the agendas
Put
together
together.
because Lori was gone.
Oh.
On Thursday. And
Oh, even better.
I just like
Even
give him
better.
just needed to razz him just enough.
It's early and you're getting slammed already.
He did a fine job.
Oh, thank you.
Lost my papers. I lost my mind. Holy cow.
Oh, God.
My well-used paper.
Do you need help?
Well, I just need my public participation spiel.
Oh.
Did I leave it at home? All right, we'll move on to public participation. Public participation is a time during our board meeting where members of the audience may address the board regarding items that are on or not on the agenda. Once we move off of public participation, the board will not allow members of the public to address the board.
3 minutes?
Thank you. You may speak for a maximum of 3 minutes' time. Please refrain from using the names of Proctor Public School employees, staff, etc., for your own legal protection and the legal rights of our staff. If you choose to speak during public participation, please remember our limit of 3 minutes' time. Is there anyone here that would like to address the board during public participation? I would like to move up a guest from our items for discussion and information, Tanya Kessler, our new transportation director. Welcome.
I love it.
I started on June 7th. Before that, I worked for Minneapolis Public Schools for 28 years as a driver, scheduler, dispatcher, you name it, I did it. And I'm very excited to be up here instead. I have 2 grown daughters and a beautiful 2-year-old granddaughter. And I'm very excited and very focused on efficiency and accountability, safety. I really want to work on those things. We've had a couple little projects that we've started. I'm making a list, listening to everyone, what priorities are for transportation. And hopefully in the next couple months, we'll get those finalized and start working on some things. Working with these 2 gentlemen quite a bit. And if you have any questions for me, I'm right across the street.
We are so glad to have you.
Thank you.
Welcome. I apologize for not getting down to meet you yet, but I will.
Absolutely.
I saw you sitting here and I thought, is she going to speak during public participation? I don't know who she is, so I'm glad.
I figured it
Here
was
I
her
did.
because she came in with a smile. So,
I did.
and I smiled back. I'm like, oh, hi.
Yeah.
Well, no, I'm just saying.
Yeah.
No, she looked like she came in to speak with us, like about something. I just
Something
figured it was,
exciting.
and knowing the agenda, I figured it was her.
It's me.
See?
Thank you.
Welcome.
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 I will come down and chat with you about the book van. Have you been in there?
Yes, I have, and I just renumbered it.
It has a number?
It does, and now it has.
Does now?
The only one with that number.
Yes.
You are unique and special.
I am. Thank
She's
you.
going to fit right in.
She's going to fit right in. Yeah.
I'm wondering, do we want to talk about busing right now so Tanya can get on with her evening, or do we want to just continue with the agenda?
Glad to get home a little bit earlier. You should.
Okay, it's summer and we like to accommodate people that are buried in like items for discussion and information. I can move those things out and put it during this time. So we are going to then move on, moving to item 11D, start and end times and bus times for school year 2021 through 22. So, number 1 is Tier 2 versus Tier 1 busing, and it's noted that you'll be here and available for comments. So we should probably talk about start times first and bus times, or how do you want to handle that, John? Why don't you introduce the topic?
Sure. So the reason this is on the agenda primarily is so that we can. The reason this is on the agenda primarily is so that we can be sure that we've considered what we did last year and make certain that moving forward into next year, which we plan on being a normal school year, that our start times are either remain the same or and stay in Tier 2, or we move to Tier 1. Right now, just because of the uncertainty of, I don't know what's going to happen with the start of the school year as far as any kind of mandates go. So we know at this point that elementary kids will not be vaccinated. We know at this point that about 64% of kids in St. Louis County, 12 to 18, have been vaccinated. And so that brings to light, some certain considerations on what buses will look like, bus rides will look like. Bus rides for our secondary will be, I would imagine, pretty dang safe. And so with that in mind, how do we move forward planning for next year? So what we've done is, in speaking with our administration and with Tanya and bus drivers, is we've left everything the same at this point. Tier 2, same start times. Remembering that last year, 30% of our kids stayed home, didn't come to school. And when we did bus, we only bused half of them. So 70% of our kids were coming to school, at least at the elementary, or at part of the year at the high school. So we had pretty, non-filled buses. And so what's it going to look like next year? My guess is that it'll be, not as crowded as Tier 1, but more kids on a bus, period, as we move into next year. And then reflecting on what I said earlier, was that our tier with secondary kids will be pretty safe, COVID-wise. So that's the discussion. Certainly, if we could go like this and be in Tier 1 and COVID never happened, we'd just be moving forward with what we've always done with common start times and moving forward. But we have some unique challenges this year. And I asked, moving into next year, so I asked Tanya to be here to talk a little bit about what some of those challenges are, number of buses we have, the number of drivers, and what that looks like. And then certainly, do we stay with secondary kids coming in early and elementary coming in later? Right now, that's what's in place. And between now these discussions and our July 15th meeting, we'll finalize everything. And Tim's here to talk on behalf, certainly, what he'd like to see. And I know our elementary principals couldn't be here, but they'd like to see their little ones starting earlier. And Tim would like to see his kids starting later. But what always gets in the way is our 7-hour day and releases at the end of the school year. And that's what the discussion was last year as we moved into Tier 2. So Tanya.
Yes.
That's the context.
No problem. Well, as far as I'm concerned, 2 tiers would work really well for us, mostly because right now we have 13 drivers. After retirement, we have 1 driver who sounds like he's going to be out on a very extended medical leave. We have, between the drivers that just retired, we have 1 retiring at the end of the month, and 1 who's telling me that he's planning on retiring before the school year is out. That gives us 13. We have 3 in the wings waiting to be hired, so that gives us 16. In 2019 to 2020, which was our last single tier year, we had 19 regular ed routes and 3 full-time special ed routes, so that requires 22 drivers without any subs. Last year, we had 16 and 3 special ed that were full-time special ed, not a mix. Some of our regular ed drivers did do special ed runs in between, but I didn't count those. So it would require some pretty serious hiring to go back to a single tier in and out. And as far as buses, right now we have 19 really solid, usable route buses. We would need those. Like I said, I think I can get down to 15 routes for sure. I know I looked at them a little bit now without knowing numbers of students, and there is a route that I think I can cut completely in and out. So that would give us 15 full-time routes for regular ed and 18 buses, and that would give us 3 spares, which would work out pretty well. And we've been kind of discussing possibly adding a bus, looking at some used options, but that's still to be determined. Yeah. And as far as which tier goes first, I'm going to leave that to somebody else.
So I have a question. When you said that there's 3 spots open, just the way the job market is now, do you have a lot of applicants for
The
those?
3 spots are actually people who are working for us but have not been officially hired by you yet.
Okay,
Yeah. So those are the 3 spots.
okay.
And then I did interview a very qualified candidate the other day who's moving up here in August. And so we did the interview while she was up in town, and she's got 10 years of experience at a private company that I'm very familiar with, and I'm familiar with the area she's been driving. So that's a 4th one in our pocket if we need it.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Good information, thank you. Any other thoughts? It sounds like we've got some time to kind of mull things over, and I agree, but it's good to have the conversation.
So right now, the plan is to stay where we were with the high school and do the kids running together, elementary school, running the
Secondary comes in on one tier,
Yep,
and elementary comes in on one tier.
so then Bayview and Pike will be on the same,
Pretty close.
okay, because
Yeah,
they
they-
haven't been for a while.
Yeah, last year, Bayview and Pike Lake were maybe 10 minutes apart. Yeah, so the only school that really didn't change much is Pike Lake. And the only reason why the secondary started late is just because of the 7-period day when we get out and activities. For example, if we start late, like we do, like Tim would like to, we start late, we'd be getting out at what, 3:50? 3:45. So 3:45, if we need to get to, let's say we need to get to Virginia, our student athletes would probably miss 7th hour completely, maybe part of 6th.
Because JV would play it probably at 5, or somewhere in that 5 o'clock hour, and you'd want them there at least, whatever restrictions there are on,
Right.
things moving into it. You'd want them in there in the 4 o'clock hour, so you're, for a 2-hour, you're for sure
Yeah.
leaving somewhere around 2 o'clock.
Then then the other thing is how late, practices would run for kids. And then of course, let's practice in the morning. And then it just gets messier, heck, because now you're doing the,
Right, so whenever I've gone to the Minnesota, the MSBA workshops that they've done about school start times, they always advocate that teenagers get more sleep, and so they should start later. But
Yeah,
the problem is
I'd agree with
that they stay up later, and they don't go to bed, or coaches are able to practice in the morning, and so they're still not getting the sleep.
Sure.
It's dog chasing the tail kind of thing on paper, and for those students who are able to do that, it probably is better for overall learning and mental health and all of it. But and they aren't getting home then, till later too, after those events, if they were able to accommodate a later time. So I don't know. I think we also have to think that, it's releasing students, but we also have a lot of coaches who are teachers, and some of our best coaching experiences come from teachers who are also coaches. And so we've got to accommodate substitute teachers in a time when substitute teachers are hard to find. And then you have to think about the loss of instructional time for that same group of students in that 7th hour math class every single time. just as an example. Not that math is it, but that would be it. Just thinking of the calculus teacher in track season. If he's being released, how many times a week? How is that for our calculus students who are doing CITS? And, there are a ton of accommodations, and teachers do a great job of coming up with a lesson plan that accommodates that. But I think it's harder to manage when the times are later.
Some schools try to get around it by, scheduling, PE or band and choir at the end of the day. But that's like saying the arts aren't important, and all of our classes are important, otherwise we wouldn't have them. But, and Tim has this massive schedule that he deals with, and I don't know, maybe you have some things to shed, Tim,
and we've talked about it just briefly, but Duluth only offers 6 classes a day. And was that a budgetary cut that they made some time ago? And so they only offer 6 hours, and so they start at 9 and they're done at 3-ish.
And there's a...
Don't they have 0 hours?
They have
a 0-hour opportunity.
And they have fewer credits required for graduation, but I think their classes are a little bit longer, aren't they, Tim?
Are they block classes? Does Duluth do block or
They
no?
aren't block.
Okay.
Tim, you'd know, I wouldn't.
Okay. Okay. I'm just curious. I love the point about the student athletes. That makes a lot of sense because I was right there with you. I'm like, I know my children would like to sleep in being teenagers. And if I was a mom of little kids, I'd want to be home with them and make sure they got on the bus before I went to work. So I could see the flip-flop there. But out of curiosity, what percentage of our student body are student athletes? And I know that obviously varies by quarter, but...
Probably over half.
Okay. Okay. So throughout the year, and I suppose fall, it's probably a little more heavy.
Each season is about 250.
Okay. Well, that alone is fantastic. That's really good. So that really then does play in.
Even think about some of those. Some of our the speech events are on the weekends, but still there are a certain amount that do take place.
Mm-hmm.
Other times, and they're longer travels.
Mm-hmm.
So, just something to think about. I don't know if there's ever a good way around it.
And I think we always talked during COVID about follow the science, follow the science, follow the science. Well, if you look at some of the science that's coming out now about when students learn best, it's that the older kids, if they get more time to sleep in the morning and start later, the academics go up. And there are studies that have shown that. And the little ones get sort of pooped out by the end of the day because they're more morning people and they want to get going, and by 3 o'clock they've had it.
Yeah.
So I just think that it, and it's a difficult, I remember being drama director, and if I had kids starting at 3:30 and we're rehearsing now until 5:30 or 6, that's tough. Those kids are tired. So, it's a really difficult thing to balance.
I did survey in a very informal way the Region 2 schools from International Falls to Aiken. And most schools are similar start times. I think Duluth is the only school that starts like we did last year. I don't know if anybody our size or Grand Rapids-ish got back to me. I don't even think Cloquet got back to me. You know what Cloquet does?
They have their high school students go earlier, yeah. And again, I'm not really, if we continue to stay the way we are, that's fine. The big thing, and I've already kind of asked Tanya to consider this as well, is when we went to 2-tier busing last year, the high school lost 15 minutes of instructional time because of the need to have the time to get from the high school routes to the elementary routes in the afternoon. So that's, I guess, my big thing is we got to try to find a way to get that 15 minutes back. So. whether we're first or second, we need to get that time back, so.
So ideally, if we can get Tim his 15 minutes back, we'd be rocking and rolling in a tier 2 with the same start times.
And I did hear some comments from parents about when they begin work and not being able to leave their little ones at home, so they have to find some type of daycare, and our kid zone gets filled up, and so there's and not that we are in the babysitting market, but you can leave an older kid at home and go to work, but to leave a little one at home, you have to sort of readjust your work schedule. So
Then we have
just comments I've heard.
Then we have kids on the bus at 6:30 in the morning in the dark, because it's not light until 7:30. So those are just things, and we've done a good job of making sure our students have our flashers and doing those safety things. But, parents might still be home at 6:30. So instead of the 7:30, I've got to go to work, and hopefully, things go. And we've got, the Versatrans who, is that our new one? Traversa, okay, yeah, with our bus tracking, and there are different things that we have that we didn't before. I just wonder how much of a shakeup it would be. I mean, we probably won't know the impact until we actually try it.
I know we'd be committing for 1 year, right? I mean, and assessing. Because you'll have
Yeah, do you think-
the whole first
would
year
we
under
really
your belt
know?
by then. You're like, I have suggestions.
I don't know. I mean, we can talk about it till we're blue in the face. We keep talking about it. I'm just wondering if it's one of those things that we just have to, if we wanted to do it, if we think it's the right thing, if it's the science, and on paper, look at the impact of a schedule. It'll take some time to look at, but how many coaches will be leaving school, how many subs, and what's the reality of us being able to fill that? Do we have to fill it within our building, or are we able to fill that from outside? And then, and we still have to think about a bus for those activities. When we have a group leaving to go out of town, we still need a bus available to do that, and we still need to transport children home.
That's a good point too. What do we have an arrangement with like the LCS coaches or anything for those, just in case we need it? I don't know how that gets chosen or picked or whatever. The bowling team gets the bus this week, and the hockey team gets it.
Yeah, so length of
curious.
travel, right? Is that how we've kind of gone to it, is length of travel?
Typically.
Well, last year in particular, we used a contract bus considerably more than we historically have, simply because we released the high school first. We didn't have buses come back because they all had to deal with the elementary kids after the high school, and so they weren't available to deal with transporting high school kids later. So athletic director works it out, but I'm saying last year we spent more money on contract busing than we have historically.
Overall, with our transportation budget, considering that we would have to voucher some of our drivers and the use of our bus, et cetera, was it a big impact?
You're asking for a COVID-type impact question in a you're comparing apples and complete oranges.
Gotcha. All right.
I asked that same question this morning. And often, last year when we moved it to Tier 2, and Steve said, well, yeah, but.
So COVID expense.
So my concern is that in two-tier, we have fewer bus drivers, but in our bus drivers union, 22 hours qualifies for full health benefits. That's the lowest threshold of anybody. Our teachers are 30. That's the Affordable Care Act minimum. And Local 66, I think, is 25. Bus drivers are 22. So how many more bus drivers got health insurance last year than the year before, because there were more hours, because we were driving more, and it looks like there were 5. No, 4.
Are the
But-
two bus routes the same for elementary and secondary, or do they vary greatly?
I
In the general region.
General region, okay.
I think, and Tanya and I talked about that today. I think, that's one of the things that she'll be looking at as she evaluates the routing of our buses. Last year in particular, our elementary buses went out, I can't say full, but socially distanced full.
Yeah.
And some of our secondary routes went out much less.
'Cause that's what I think, a lot of high school kids are driving. It's more the middle school kids that need transportation.
But, yeah, and I agree with 100% with what you're saying, but you got to give Tanya some time to work on some of that stuff.
No, I was just curious based on,
Yeah, that's the position I'm taking is can we combine some of those second-tier buses? But I'm sitting at my desk doing it instead of living the real world.
Yeah.
Tanya's got to convert it to the real world, and she'll know the answer to that.
Yeah.
But when we moved from two-tier to single-tier.
Yep.
We did that as a cost savings. I understand that there's a cost for buses. But remember, the cost for buses comes out of a different fund. But right now, we're in a little bit different situation from an employment point. You can't find bus drivers. So I think what I hear the board saying, what I think I hear Tanya saying is, let's run two-tier, let's see what it is. Then we'll have a much better way to compare the two. But if you're asking me, in my opinion, I think you're going to find that it's going to cost more money to run two-tier.
Sure, mileage and maintenance, and you're doubling your mileage of all those vehicles, and
But
they're
you-
much
but
more wear and
On
tear.
paper, you have less drivers.
Yeah.
Which is, well, you have more drivers in single-tier, and you have less drivers in double-tier, but they're doing twice the work.
So they're working twice as much. And 5 more people get health benefits at about $10,000 per student. 4 more people.
I think it's a costly way to do it, but for right now, I think what I hear Tanya saying and John saying and everybody saying is, we're going to run two-tier, let's figure out how to do it.
From a parent's perspective, I've, had kids riding the bus for, I don't know how many years, 15 years. We usually hear towards the end of August, if you're not riding, let us know. I think families would welcome the ability to opt out of busing so that it would help you to plan better. Yeah. Yeah, I think earlier is fine. I mean, people have a plan already, right? I mean, we know how our kids are getting to school one way or the other today, if they drive or they don't, or, and that we're always open to adding, if your situation changes. But just as we're planning to roll things back, I think parents are prepared to answer that question anytime you're ready. All right. Any other questions regarding busing and start times and such? Good conversation.
Good
Thanks,
luck.
guys.
Thank you, Tanya.
Thanks for coming, you guys. Thanks for taking time out of your evening.
Thank you for taking the job.
Aw.
I wouldn't want that.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll move back to the consent agenda, item number 9. Looking for a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented in your packet.
So moved by Amy.
There's a motion by Amy. Is there a second? Thank you, Larry. Does anyone have any questions regarding the consent agenda? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Aye, and those opposed? That motion carries. Item number 10, items for individual action. Item A, adopt the budget for the 2021 through 22 school year. Is there a motion?
So moved by Amy.
There's a motion by Amy. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you, Kim. We will start with some conversation about the budget as presented in your packet. Steve, do you want to give an overview?
I do. And everybody has this, it was sent to you electronically, but sometimes it's easier just to have it in front of you as we're discussing it, so I run it for you. And certainly I would invite the Finance Committee to chime in with our discussions if there's anything they'd like to add. But what I wanted to do is just kind of go through the highlights of this, at least on a very high level, so everybody kind of knows what we're working with. First of all, the two critical assumptions that I want people to understand is, first assumption is it's at zeros and zeros. It's zero from an increase from the state and zero from a contract settlement standpoint. Because as we were preparing this, we didn't know what the state is going to do. At this point, it seems like there's an agreement, or there is an agreement. It's 2.45 and 2. On the minutes from Finance Committee, it was 2.5 and 2, but it's 2.45 and 2. So we're starting to know what the revenue is, but if I put the revenue in and don't know what the expenditure side is, what it is. So right now, realize this is prepared with zeros. When we do a revised budget, we'll update it based on what contract settlements are and what the projected revenue from the state is at that point. The other really important piece of this is built on an enrollment of 1,864 students. This year, our enrollment is 1,802 students. That's a huge increase in students. I was concerned about it, but John's numbers, I mean, they're coming in, and John was very optimistic, saying, hey, we're going to see this. And his numbers right now are at 1,864, and that's what we built this budget on. And it still seems like we may see some growth, so we don't.
We're at 1880.
So it's been kind of really interesting. We've become a district that we were projecting an increase as we came into fiscal year 21. We ended up almost flat. So the projected increase didn't materialize because we lost the number that we were going to increase by. We're seeing a strong increase right now. So that's the other piece that's important to know. So those are the two key assumptions. I wanted to just kind of categorically go through this, and I want you to look at, in general fund in particular, and for you, those of you that have looked at this many times, look at the yellow line. It's the unassigned fund balance. That is the critical line to look at. Right now, this budget is put together, and we're deficit spending by $121,400. That is without adding a kindergarten teacher at Pike Lake, which it appears that we'll need to do based on class size. If we added a BA step 1, that's about a $60,000 expenditure, so that'll put us running in the red of about $180,000. You've heard me say I'm concerned about this, I'm concerned about this, I'm concerned about this. You're going to hear it again. I am concerned about this. The pieces I'm going to tell you is this, in fiscal year 21, we have some ability to make up what we deficit spend, because we have the ability to one-time transfer some designated funds into the general fund unassigned and to make up the difference. So could do it last year and we could do it this year. We did not do it last year. I do expect we are going to do it this year because I'm going to make us whole this year. The way we're going to deal with any deficit spending next year is we're likely to deal with some COVID ESSER 2 or ESSER 3 funds. And I'd like to deal with ESSER 2 funds. Very specifically, ESSER 2 we can spend on a very broad range of expenditures. I'm intending to make us whole using ESSER 2 funds. I'm hoping all of you as negotiators hear that I'm planning on using ESSER 2 funds to make our budget whole, because it means we can't spend it other places. ESSER 2 funds are one-time funds. All the ESSER funds are one-time funds, and we can't put it into negotiations on ongoing expenditures, because we can't recover from it. The other piece I'm going to say is I'm kicking a problem down the road by doing that. I'm real concerned that as we move forward, fiscal year 24, there could be a cliff, because I'm going to run out of ESSER funds. I'm going to run out of the ability to make up for things. I want to just kind of a heads up. We can get through the next year or two, but man, you don't want to hit 2024 if I've been making this up with ESSER funds all this time. I'd like to deal with our problems as best we can as we go forward. So when we hit 24, we're not, okay, if we got to do some budget adjustments, okay, but we don't have a cliff. Those times of $300,000-$400,000 adjustments, I mean, they just aren't fun. So just kind of a heads up, we can deal with this. I want to be very, very aware that we're running a deficit budget again this year. I've got the way to, we've got some ways to help with that. Transportation, Tanya will work with that. We made it so we're bringing in $21,000. I could not have the fund balance go down any further. I had to supplement that out of some general fund. We just can't keep working in that area with transportation. We're spending more money than, our transportation is being supplanted by our general fund somewhat, which is okay. And it's the right thing to do, partially because some of our open enrollment kids are helping deal with our transportation, which is a real fair thing. Just don't want to go too far. And as Tanya works through her piece and learns the scheduling and works through that, we're going to see how that all shuffles out. And then as the year goes on, we'll have a better understanding of transportation. And really, as we go into next year, we'll have a better understanding of transportation. So it looks like we're seeing an increase in transportation, and we are projecting a little increase in transportation, but that's because I'm helping it out of general fund. OpCap, we're bringing some pretty good money into the fund balance for OpCap, both long-term facilities and operating maintenance. And part of the reason we're doing that is because I may transfer some money out of that this year yet, which isn't reflected here. We want to carry a little bit stronger fund balance. We've got some roofing expenditures we're looking at, some boiler expenditures we're looking at. So I need to keep that balance up a little bit, and we are going to spend some money as we move forward into fiscal year 22, fiscal year 23. Sorry about that. Food service, on the top of the second page, strong fund balance increase. We've been running deficit over the last couple years prior to COVID. This COVID summer food service program that we're running is bringing dollars into our food service, and we're being very, very successful with that. We're going to work and see if I can bring some of that back into the general fund by paying for some related expenditures, and I'll work on trying to bring that down. But we've been concerned, and for those of you that have been on the board, you've heard me say we need to raise prices, we need to do this, we need to do the other thing. Don't think you're going to hear that from me for a while. We're doing well. And because of the program and the staffing, they've done a great job of making that successful. So food service is not a concern for us right now. Community ed it's Crystal's program. She does a marvelous job of running her program. To be very honest, I don't spend a lot of time in community ed because she does. So she knows what she wants to do. She understands the budget. We have conversations, and she kind of says, "Here, Steve, here's what we're doing." I say, "Okay," So she does a marvelous job. I don't worry about community ed, and community currently is a comfortable fund balance. We don't have to be concerned.
Steve, can I ask a question?
Yes, sir.
Is that just, what's Kermit on? Is it similar?
I haven't asked them, community ed, you're saying?
Yeah.
I have not asked community ed. I don't know their community ed. I think they run strong community ed fund balance as well.
Because Crystal runs both of them.
Right.
I'm just curious.
Yeah, I think she runs a good program. There's times when I'm looking at, and she wants to add this middle management piece or that or the other thing. She's got this all thought through. If she says, "Here's what I want to do," it's kind of like, okay, and we talk about it, and she has the reason and the logic and how she's going to pay for it, and she just does a great job. I listen to Crystal a lot because she just does a fine job for you. Pardon?
She balances pretty well too. She makes sure that, that both. She spends a little bit of money in both districts.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, she does a marvelous job from my standpoint. I joke with Crystal every now and then. It used to be Pat Chafee was there, and I was in Proctor, and she had to put up with the two of us, and we have two completely different styles. Now she's got to deal with Lance in Hermantown and me, and Lance and I are a little bit more similar, but we certainly have different things. But she does a marvelous job of dealing with both of us and dealing with, and she has two very different boards as well. but she's done a nice job. And our community ed as a whole. I mean, Ted did a nice job when he was here. Molly did a fine job, and Crystal, she's just rock solid to me. Debt service and the OPEB trust, nothing to be concerned about in any of those. They're just rocking right along. So that's kind of the summary of the budget that I want to talk about. I do want to say we got lots of COVID things we're working with, and COVID is not included in this. That's kind of a standalone. I'm not trying to muddle up the budget by putting COVID in there, but we have a flow chart with the COVID funding streams on it. Thought I had it easy, but I don't. We are working with a bunch of COVID funding that it's all over. It's changing on a very, very regular basis. We're, our latest challenges. We got some relief funds that came through, provider relief funds, came from our MA billing money, but at a given point a couple weeks ago, we were told we had to spend about $400,000 before the end of June. And we didn't have the criteria. So you didn't know what you could spend it on. It was not good. So everybody, all the administration, everybody's hearing Steve say, hey, tell me your special ed expenditures right now because we might have to spend it like next week. Well, we got notification that they've now extended that to June of 2022, so we can really thoughtfully spend it, and it'll be much better. We still don't have clear criteria, but we're working on that. We've got a little bit of time. It's not like we have to rush and do something. Yes,
Can I go back to this?
certainly.
It says 2021-2022 budget summary, but I didn't see a 2020 or 2022 number anyplace.
Estimated fund balance, it's got
The
a
second
typo on
one?
it. On the top, it should say 2022.
Okay, that was my question.
It's a great question. I noticed it. I noticed that I was presenting. I thought, shoot, I wonder if anybody else noticed that.
I did. I couldn't figure this out.
It's
I thought, what am I
2000
not seeing?
It's 2022.
Okay.
Estimated
okay.
fund balance should be 2022. That's my fault.
No, that's fine. It
Yep.
just,
You can just blame John, say he typed it up.
No,
Yeah, it's
no,
true.
I'll take ownership of it.
And the second thing, well,
Yeah.
I had a couple questions. Under transportation, it went from 32,648 to 8,211. Do you see that? Under the transportation fund, it was the unreserved?
Yes?
Okay. So it's $24,900 difference. What made it drop that much between 6/30/20 and 6/30/2021?
We're overspending transportation.
Okay, so it's just that.
Our transportation's gone like this.
Okay.
And this year, it's going up because I'm helping it go up because I have to.
Okay, yeah.
I couldn't keep it going like that.
Yep. Okay. And then on the flip side.
And it'll be interesting to see how this really truly shuffles out with this COVID year.
Okay.
But I just can't, if we lose another 24,000, that's not where we want to be.
No. Okay, then on the flip
Yep.
side, when I look at food service, and with all of the meals we provided to so many people, and then it goes up.
We're doing very, very well. Our reimbursement rate on this food service is very, very strong.
Okay.
And the more meals it's very interesting, but our food service staff, we've kept a very minimal staff. I shouldn't say minimal, but we've kept our staff, and as we go into by what's happening, and you've heard us talk a little bit about compensatory aid. One of our big problems on this yellow line is compensatory aid. We do not have a hold harmless from the state. We are losing about $200,000 in compensatory aid because people are not filling out their free and reduced applications. We're seeing it also start to impact our Title I funds. Those are going to go down next year somewhat, not as dramatically. But the compensatory aid piece is critically, it's something that John and the administrators are all talking about. We've got to find a way to encourage people to get those in.
Do we do social media blitzes?
I think we've tried lots of different things.
Things seem to spread like wildfire, on Facebook, and I don't do the other ones, but the ugly goes out there really quickly, so I think, this is a chance.
It's one of those things, you're asking people to tell you how much they earn, and it may be something they're not, there's some social concerns with respect to that, and there's no benefit for them to do it.
Except at the school, it's for the greater good.
I 100% get
It's
the
the
greater
benevolent
good.
society.
I get that, but there's no direct benefit to me filling this out.
You got to get away from this selfish attitude. Come on.
Because everybody's free. Everybody's free.
I
The
see
richest
Lynn as
person
the
in our
family
district
liaison
is free.
resurfacing this fall.
So.
I would. I'd go door to door.
The person with the least amount of income is also free. So there's no.
So there's no incentive then? Okay.
It's a problematic issue. It's not just Proctor Public Schools, although I will say, I think it's more of a problem to us than to some districts. I mean, everybody's having problems getting them to fill out. For some reason, we're having a greater problem. Certainly.
And you think it's because that everybody's free?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Clearly.
All right, so that makes sense to me, then I take back my don't be selfish
So
comment.
if we had a very, very affluent district.
John, microphone. John.
If we had a very, very affluent district that had very small amount of free or reduced students or direct certified MA billing kids, it wouldn't impact us because we get so little compensatory aid. That's not the case with our district. And so, some districts, compensatory aid didn't matter to them. But it matters to us. It matters to how we feed our kids. It matters to how we transport our kids, how we get that additional money.
So if you fill it out, you fill us up.
Yeah.
Take it to the bank.
The marketing genius.
Just understand,
Fabulous.
it became a problem at the end, as we went into this. Business managers were always talking about it. But we're always talking about, how do we maximize this and how we do that. Well, we're not talking about how to maximize it right now. We're trying to how to get, we were trying to solve this problem. Now we're trying to solve this problem.
Yeah.
And our percentage went down by a greater percentage than many districts.
Two quick questions.
Yes.
One, okay, teachable moment for me. What? John looks at his watch. All right.
No, it's my smartwatch is going tick all the time.
Mine says stress.
Mary always says, "Why are you looking at your watch?"
So
Try and explain it away. I see.
That happens to Lynn all the time.
the compensatory aid piece, is that specific just to our district or our enrollment? So like our kids that are in Piedmont, out of district, and West Duluth?
Those attending school in
Okay.
Proctor Public Schools.
Excellent, thank you. Thank you. Oh, and then question 2. Okay, quick math. So John just said we've got an additional 14 students. That's awesome. How does that impact that 121?
It's going
Roughly.
to dramatically decrease it by, how many, was it 14?
Yeah,
It may wipe that out.
really? That's
Not quite.
great news. And it's June 20.
Figure, use $7,000 for a student.
Okay,
But realize that we still don't know who's leaving us.
right.
And it's been very interesting, because as a business manager, I've said this, we don't know who's leaving us, we don't know who's leaving us, we don't know who's leaving us. And in the last few years, we haven't had a lot of people leave us. So my concern has been kind of, less of a concern than it should be. But this year in particular, it's going to be interesting to see.
Okay.
The thing that I'm concerned with, I'm sure Steve is as well, is distance learning. The state did not put any provisions for distance learning in. So at this point, we cannot provide distance learning because we're not an online provider. And there are many, not many, but I would imagine there are some parents that are a little bit nervous about sending their kids to school. I would imagine more elementary kids than secondary kids, but it all depends on health. You just don't know. And so even if we wanted to, at this point, we could not offer, like we did last year, a distance learning option. So will those kids enrolled in an online school? I don't know. I mean, after what we learned about staying home and zooming around, it's much better.
And even with that extra enrollment, we still are looking at potentially hiring a teacher.
We do have to hire a teacher, I think, at this point, based on what our goals are at that early level. I think you're going to see that.
Go ahead.
Pike. And we aren't going to run a kindergarten class with 29. So, if they run that, if that maintains, they should have another. They're totally dialed in.
Do we still have capacity to continue to grow for this? And are we running any marketing campaigns to kind of augment that this summer for enrollment? Or is there any marketing out right now that to kind of on the TV or in mail to kind of bolster enrollment for the fall?
Best marketing we have is what we're doing.
Okay.
I mean, if you look at some of the baby things that have been reported on in the last week, and
good PR,
and the trap team and some of that, we've done some really cool things.
I never wanted to advertise in our school. Over here. Instead, my philosophy in our marketing is know what we do best and what we do as a district. And by doing that, staying in the public eye and being very consistent, the message it resonates throughout the region, not just this region, but throughout the greater region because of the way we advertise. And so our reputation has bolstered our enrollment. So, for a while you'd get districts like St. Louis County, they'd send enrollment things to everybody, in St. Louis County. I just cringe at public school or private schools do it.
Yeah.
But that's not my marketing idea.
Okay.
And it's not. I don't think that's who we are.
That's good.
I think
Thank
we
you.
stand on our own reputation.
I was at a grad party this weekend, and someone mentioned the food program that we're doing here, and ASCO doesn't do that, and at Duluth you have to go pick it up. So just those types of things are just those same conversations start getting out into the community, and when people are looking at making a change for their family or looking at finding a home and moving into the district, they're looking at where some of those resources are. I really do believe that.
I think the summer school program at Bayview is nothing but positive. I think you're going to see another push when we have it in August, as well as some at the secondary side.
Thank you.
And
That's
I
good.
think having a big the Duluth News Tribune story on our summer school program. Today kids are reading to miniature horses. I took some pictures today. It was fantastic. because they feel comfortable reading to animals, and this is a horse. What did I tell them? In the library. It's fantastic. It's great.
I need to quit my day job so I can participate in some of this
I
stuff.
would too.
Right?
Absolutely.
We all want to go back to elementary school, right?
Yeah, I know. I told Anna Kid I'm just going to park myself in her classroom. That's enough.
Kim, did your questions get answered?
Yes, absolutely. I think that was a great answer. And I know I've seen commercials in the past, so I was just kind of curious. But yeah, there's a lot of great PR stories out there.
Good. There's two other points I want to make as we talk about the budget, because I have a microphone. You never give a ex-politician a microphone.
X is the key word.
Yeah. I want everybody, as you go into negotiations as a board, I want you to remember that COVID funds are one-time funds. I'm going to pound that and pound that and pound that. It's one-time funds. We need it to balance our budget. We need it to do some things with. We can't be putting it on the salary schedule or something like that, or it's going to really come back in haunt us. So you've heard that piece. The other piece I'm just going to remind you of, and we talked about very briefly at Finance Committee, is remember we need to deal with some early childhood facility issues coming up in the next couple of years. So we're going to continue to work on that. John is working on it very diligently, but I think we just need to keep that in the back of our mind. And we've got a couple ideas that we're exploring right now that may be helpful to us. So. Now that I've spent more than 5 minutes on the budget, and I apologize for that, is there questions or other comments or things you'd like to talk about on the budget or you'd like to see? Thank you. And Finance Committee certainly chime in. You were involved in some of the conversation?
I think you covered it all.
Okay.
No, I enjoyed my my guest appearance. Thank you.
We appreciated having you.
Thanks for letting me join the club. Sorry for my late arrival.
Larry was thrilled with your guest appearance, too.
No, it was good. I appreciated John's wake-up call at
Well.
10 to 7. Are you coming in for the meeting?
Oh,
No.
you know,
No.
certainly, Larry, I appreciate that, but really it's
Time
made
on it,
up of
but
the
no.
people that we work with. It's the district office staff, it's the administrators, and it's the board that gives me the ability to shift funds where I need to shift funds when I need to shift them to keep us where we are. So I appreciate we say that in a positive sense.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I don't know if you want to save that like that.
We don't
I
have
think
to
the
know.
gears keep rolling when he sleeps. Like, I
So-
think it's got to be a separate thing, you know.
So, yeah,
His body's
it's a
able to
team that
recharge
does it.
and bring-
That's how the brain takes
And
over.
as a board, you give us the ability to do what we need to do. And John's very, very effective at some of this stuff. And I pity John because every now and then I walk in his office and say, hey, I got this idea, or here's what I'm thinking, and he's got to try and work with me on it. And I appreciate that. So I think, but just realize it's truly a team, yourselves all the way down to everybody, so.
And vice versa. John comes into your office with some creative ideas.
That's right. But I can't say that. He can. When John says, here's what I want to do, it's yes, sir. That's true. Not always. He happened to hear me say something last week.
Further questions regarding the adoption of the budget with a motion and a second on the table? Any more dialogue, conversation, questions? Hearing none then, all those in favor say aye.
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 And those opposed? And that motion carries. Okay, we will move on to items for discussion and information, and we will start with the superintendent update. John?
I don't know. I'll find out.
You got to turn on your mic.
John,
John,
keep
turn
your
on
mic
your mic.
on.
I sent everybody at the table here a picture of the ponies at Bayview. They'll be here. They'll be there Thursday and Friday, Wednesday and Thursday, as well. So if you want to go watch kids They start early.
I'll call
8:30,
Diane.
8:30, right when they get there, because they cycle through groups. And
Wednesday.
then the other event is the rock climbing. I have a video of Diane going up the rock climbing wall, all strapped in.
Send that one too?
I will. That's going to give me some mileage, I'll tell you. So that was good. She could only go so high. Anyway, that's
Was that in the gym or was that outside, the rock climbing wall?
the rock climbing is set up outside.
Oh, so it's not the one that they do in the gym? This is-
Nope, it's a big tower they brought in. There's like 5 people out there pulling them up without. I don't know what those ropes are called, but
Okay,
helping them get to the top.
very cool.
What are they called? Too high for me. Anyway, I'll just start with curriculum and instruction. So, part of curriculum instruction certainly is the teaching and learning that our student athletes receive competing with teams and from the coaches and our strength and conditioning coaches as well. It was great being here, sending off our track team. I know Jen was here and Lynn was here and Steve was here, Tim was here. Anyway, it was great, and I just couldn't be more impressed with sending a track team off. And then so many kids going to state track meet. It's pretty impressive. And I'll just touch on some of the things that are most notable. Summer school is underway, as has been mentioned today. This is the last week of summer school, so we're wrapping it up with rock wall climbing and then a focus on reading. So a lot of things happening at Bayview, and of course remember that we do have a middle school summer school and then Tim's Rails Academy that goes on in the summer, which is pretty much credit recovery. And then Tim and Sarah and Gina are working on Rails safe pathways skills for teachers at the high school to implement in the fall. And so that'll be interesting. And the more that Tim and Sarah and Gina work on Rails pathways, it just continues to impress me how this thing has grown and how the community gets involved in it and how we're doing much better than anyone around here. Our collaborations are really strong. Well done, Tim. I mean, it's very impressive. Gina is adjusting a curriculum review calendar to demonstrate some updates from the Department of Ed around math and social studies standards, and I think social studies standards is kind of a little bit on a standstill. So we'll have to revamp our curriculum review calendar and cycle. From management and leadership, Lynn, and Amy, well done on the Trust Edge book meeting that was in person here. I've set up and campaigned for book reads, but I've never been involved in one. So I don't know what's a good one and what's a poor one, but I'll tell you, if this were the standard, I'll get involved in them a lot, because it's I don't know, it's really rewarding. Speaking with colleagues on a different level, it's nice.
And with
I've really
no
enjoyed
power.
it.
And with no power. Let's not forget that, the power outage.
Yeah, and we did it in the dark.
Yeah,
Yeah.
with John Awesome on speakerphone.
Exactly.
You're just like the rest of the kids in the staff, we become very, very adaptable.
Adaptable, yep.
Former teacher, I can do it.
Just goes on, this year in particular.
Yep.
I've had a little bit of difficulty finalizing our negotiations for local, for bus drivers and Local 66 and our teachers. So I sent out calendar invites, and I know some of you can't make all those dates, and that's okay, if you only be for part of them. But we do need to meet, and then we can always share information. I'll get back to you with some kind of preliminary meeting that we'll have. Perhaps we can meet before 7 o'clock. I don't know, that's awfully early for some folks. So I'll try to figure out how you want to chit-chat a little bit about some preliminary negotiations that take place. I'll get all the notes out, my notes, and I get those from Steve and Robin and Tim and Diane and myself. We all look at the contract. We all look at little bits of language that might need some clarification. And we also did a complete review of our contract a few years ago. We paid a lot of money for it, and it went through our entire contract, the teacher's contract anyway. If anybody wants to see that, it would be a big job correcting all those little itty-bitty suggested changes in our contract, especially, and only with Local 66 from Ed, Minnesota. So I really, or from the Minnesota Association School Boards Association. That's where we get that from. So anyway, if anybody ever wants to see that, just let me know. Gina and I have been working on the handbook, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to send a digital link to everybody either this week or the first part of next week, and then we'll bring it for approval in July, along with handbooks for our schools as well, our student handbooks. Our ADSYS grant has been approved for the next 2 years, and that's over $14,000. And ADSYS stands for Alternative Delivery of Specialized Instructional Services. So that helps kids who don't qualify for special ed, but might not be at grade level, and that's where we bring interventionists in. And we can do intervention in 2 different areas, instructional and behavioral. Right now, we're just doing instruction. We might be, are we paying for Dean of Students at all? Do one? No. All right. So right now, it's all instructional. And then I'm in the process of reviewing our strategic plan and the goals for expanding early childhood. If you remember and look back at our strategic plan, by June of 2021, that's now, create a plan to fund necessary facility improvements and additions. So we've really been working on this for quite a while. We talked to the Finance Committee last week about our vision for moving forward, and then last week on Thursday I sent out my superintendent newsletter, which brought this to light for the community as well as the board, and just to reflect a little bit on what we've been talking about. And that is that six classroom stack, 2 classrooms on top of each one at Bayview. And so, when we built Bayview, we built it with that front being a community center, and I've always said that early childhood will just take a lot of real estate, whether you think it will or not. It just does. And we let the early childhood come into the community center, and now that's what it is. It's early childhood, and not that there's anything wrong with that, but what it's done is it's diminished our spaces at Bayview. And as Bayview grows and early childhood grows, we need to really seriously think about how we're going to move forward with a progressive district that has facilities all in one place. Right now, our early childhood building that we lease is, I don't know, it's separate, it's a different place, it's a different world. We'd really like to centralize everything we do with early childhood. I think a good example of what happened in Hermantown, they had an ancillary building out on the highway there. It's the old Ethan Allen, store out there, and the building was substandard, and they built a new early childhood center at Hermantown, school district. It's nice. It's too small. I'm telling you that no matter what you do with early childhood, you'll want to be bigger. And so that's really, we need to focus on what we're going to do in the future, and I think we have some ideas on how we can move forward with a cost-neutral, minimal impact on taxes for our residents, as we have with a number of our projects. The only projects that had any kind of maybe possible impact, God, I can't even think, with this, but not instructional buildings. I think we did Pike Lake with some lease levy, and then we postponed the debt service and the payments over a number of years at Bayview when we built Bayview. And that was some creative financing on the part of the state. So we'd like to do that again. Facilities and transportation, Steve alluded to that American Relief Fund Act that came forward with MA billing funds. So we're looking at some ways to, again, bring forward our strategic plan, which calls for modernizing our classrooms. And if we can modernize our classrooms using special ed dollars through COVID, it makes perfect sense and a perfect opportunity to make some of our classrooms that have our toughest kids, as far as challenges go, walk into a learning environment that is full of color and excitement and microbially, if that's the word, so that it qualifies for COVID funding. So that's on the table. That's what we've been working on as well. Todd Signs, they've begun to the process of doing the footings over there for the sign. Pike Lake Outdoor Classroom is moving along. Bayview's is done. If you go down to the community garden, they built there. It looks really nice, and John Awesome stained it. And Pike Lakes is palatial. It is. Mark's standing in the middle of that photo, and it's gonna be really, really nice. I know Larry has worked on that with them. It's gonna be nice. It's nestled right in that apple orchard that we built a long time ago. And then Mark Hughes and Glenn Ellison and I reviewed the electronic sign at Pike Lake Elementary. And so we're going to start that sometime in June, and that'll be funded through long-term facility maintenance. If you go to Cloquet and you go to Grace Baptist Church, it's on 14th Avenue. That's the exact same sign we're putting in. So I went over there and took some pictures of it. It's really nice. And then we're sharing that cost with Kenosha Township. They've agreed to commit $10,000 to the cost so they can put some advertising. Welcome to Kenosha Township, fireman's picnic tonight, and then welcome to Pike Lake Elementary and our events. And then community involvement. Again, we're helping the Lions with Hoghead. There's a pollinator garden over at the community garden, and then we've added some bee houses. So I called our insurance company and said, "Can we have bee houses? Is there a liability there?" And they said, "Yeah, you can't just put a sign up." I mean, it's because it says, it's got these holes and
Put mud in them, right?
Yeah, I mean, yeah. I've seen that Menards too.
Yeah,
They
I have
all
one.
over.
Mine's full of mud.
Are you full? Do you have one? Are they full of bees?
Well, is that for butterflies or is it?
No, this is a
So there's
bee
a
house.
butterfly house.
Oh, never
That
mind.
has this like the
Circles?
straight lines. Nope, the bee and insect house has the circle.
Yeah, I have little circles that are full of mud. They put mud there.
Yeah, those are bees.
Yeah. Oh, well, I got them. Sorry, I got it for a gift. It's working.
On my medical chart, and I'm sharing this. I have wasp venom allergies. They don't like me. I should not get bitten by bugs.
I'll move it to the backyard, then you can come over.
And then, thanks again to the police department and the fire department for helping escort our kids out of town again. That's pretty classy. That's it. I skipped over some things, so if you have any questions, certainly let me know.
Just to reiterate, I know that we have a lot of negotiations going on in the middle of July, and if people have conflicts, just make sure you're communicating with whoever you're working with in your negotiations. We shouldn't negotiate with just one board member and the superintendent. It should really be a group of 2 board members, and if we need to make some adjustments, we can. There's no problem with one of us just, joining the team if need be in order to accommodate that. We might have to take care of it officially at a meeting at some point, but let's just make sure that we go at it the right way. Conflicts with people in contracts? Yeah. Yeah. So, as an example, I don't know that I have any conflicts with any contracts. So if you need help, just call.
I don't.
Yeah. So, yeah, and that's fine. And he's very well, he's very clear about that. So, but yeah. So, yeah, that's what I know about that. Does anyone have any questions regarding things on the superintendent update for John?
I was excited about the ADSIS grant. It's such a good thing. Such a good thing for kids and it's just wonderful. And we've had that for 8 years, 9 years? No, it's been longer than that.
Wasn't it after the? It came after the other grant.
It was before I retired. Okay.
Your mic's not on.
Gentlemen, Mike's.
Mike's.
All right. All right. Anything else? Okay. We'll move on to any updates regarding infection rates, vaccines, and summer school protocols with a note that there currently are no changes or recommendations from public health. Anything to add, John?
Our infection rate is 5. Across St. Louis County, everywhere. And so vaccines are working. And if you can convince somebody who doesn't get to have a vaccine to get a vaccine, you should do that. I'm paying my granddaughter to get a vaccine, for God's sake.
Excellent.
It's that important to society.
And there is a summer cold going around, and it is just that.
Oh, I don't think that.
Right. At Emma Pan swab. The PA says, "What?" I said, "Swab her for everything." I said, "She's fully vaccinated. I want her swab for COVID. I want her swab for influenza. I want her swab for mono, strep, and everything."
What does that do?
I just wanted to because we had a funeral last week, and she had the sniffle thing. I'm like, I'll be darned. So it's just a summer cold. But now that complicates things for some people who are able to get vaccinated or haven't. So
It does.
yeah, okay. Moving on to strategic plan, discussion of focus areas and goals. John, do you want to just talk about conversations that you've had with your team?
Yeah, so I purposely included this in my superintendent report as well. And so I've addressed most of the things, especially early childhood as part of our strategic plan. And then in addition to modernizing our classrooms. We're pretty on target with action plans and dates. We're a little bit behind as far as getting a finance plan together for, by June of '21, but it's well underway. We have an idea, and we could implement it tomorrow if we wanted to, the board wanted to. But that's all I wanted to bring to light to the board and ask the board if they wanted to ask questions about that portion of the strategic plan.
No, I'm good. Anyone else? Okay. All right. We'll skip over D since we hit that already. We'll go to the social media report card, item number E. You'll find that in your packet with updates regarding Facebook and Instagram and Twitter and just how we compare to other school districts. Anything to add, John?
You know, for a district our size, we are.
I was
kinda-
looking at the stats.
We're really an impressive district.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Great.
Pretty cool.
All right, we'll move on to public relations update then. Items relating to the district from the Proctor Journal, the June 17th edition, highlighting Austin Carlson being named the Minnesota School Patroller of the Year, and mentions of track events at state. And then items relating to the district from Fox 21 News, WDIO News, and KBGR TV, highlighting our expanded summer school opportunities for our elementary students. All right, we will move on to reports, item number 12. In your package, you will see the activities report that was submitted, as well as a finance report that came afterwards. Is that right?
Yep, it's in
'Cause
our
we've been-
packet.
Yeah, it's in the packet here, yes. But it was emailed out as well earlier. That was a late week meeting, late in the week or mid
It was a late week meeting, but we wanted to get it out
Right.
before tonight's meeting as we were discussing
Right.
budget, so that's why we kind of snuck it in where we did.
Yeah, no, perfectly
So
appropriate.
apologize for that, but that was done with reason.
Yep, and we knew that was coming, so just needed to get it out there. So thank you for making sure that got done. I don't think any other committees met. Okay. Item 13, communications, school board comments and observations. Are there any school board celebrations? Lynn?
Yeah, there you go.
We're learning how to use our mics appropriately by meeting two. I just said that this is our last meeting of the fiscal year, and what a year it has been. So I know we'll be together again next month, but
I'm not going to put this in the minutes, but I mentioned to Larry how exciting it was for me coming to this meeting. And, I mean, it's beautiful, and I just kind of want to stay home. But I went by Clang Park, and there are families using the park. And then there's kids playing baseball. And then there's somebody on the football field there. And then I went by Blackwoods, and it's full, and it's like our community is coming alive again. It was just, for me, it was so exciting. And not that I don't want to come to meetings, but it was a beautiful evening. But it's just, it's nice to see our community coming alive again and these things occurring. So. Yeah.
Larry?
Oh,
Sorry.
I think they do.
But you said, everything's coming to life.
Very exciting.
I don't know if I have anything. It's been just kind of busy and, I do have one little tidbit for communities type stuff. So, the Playground for Everybody should be in the ground this fall. If just the equipment and not the surfacing, depending on what time we can do that. So that's super exciting for me and for our community. I've appreciated all of your support over the years. It's been, 12 years in the making almost, it feels like. Steve would know for sure because he sat in his office when we first started this. So, but just know that I might be asking for some help in the fall to get the whole thing in the ground. And that'll be an opportunity for students to be able to help for their service hours for sure. Depending on how desperate, maybe we can even exempt them from having two different types of activities. I like that they have to focus on more than one thing, but if you focus on this as it being, I'd sign off on that. Because it will be a huge effort. It'd be like 4 days worth of drilling holes and putting in posts and all the things. So we have signed contracts, and they were sent. So that was super exciting. So I have no other update other than it's almost done.
And then a ribbon cutting.
And something like that. Yes, I need to gather some students to go sometime this fall, hopefully before October 1st. If it's warm enough.
We've done that before, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So I need to talk to Bill, the playground guy, and make sure that he put the order in, and then just to put the date on the calendar. So, but that's what I got there. My friend Larry's going to help us with figuring out how to do some drain tile and have the boys from the city get that taken care of.
Yep.
So thank you for everybody. And our students will benefit from it because we'll be able to have outings I talked to Jared Potterzay and talked with the type of equipment that we want to make sure that the kids have. And I've worked with, this goes all the way back to, working with Chris Haller back in the day. This goes so far back with what types of things, right? So, yeah, it's good stuff. Anything else? Comments? Observations? Okay. Student liaison board member comments. I'm glad that our students took time for themselves this summer. We welcome them any time that they want. And I wouldn't mind just touching base with them and just going over how, and John may do this also, but how we plan the board meeting and the things that go into that. That would be kind of fun to sit down with them and do. And even Lynn, I'm sure, would like to talk maybe just about the clerk and what the job looks like that way. And so we'll certainly be available to go over that.
I think it would be good.
And even just a committee, when it's appropriate. There are some times that we just need to handle business in our committee meetings, but there'll be appropriate times to make sure that they're included in that.
I miss that. Kind of little sparks of energy.
They remind me of Amber Bennett. When she was on the board, there was oh my gosh, it was Phil Paulson at the same time. So those two, they were really great to have on the board. It was fun. So, and okay, Township and City Communications. Anything to add other than the Kenosha?
You need to press your button.
Yeah, you aren't allowed to speak until your button's
Not
on.
allowed to speak in school board participation. That's why I did it. The school board should just thank Jim for bringing the treats.
Yes, thank you.
Oh, that's all right.
Thank you. Treats I've missed treats over the last
No, they
year.
have to take some on the way out, because I ain't gonna bring them.
Okay. Well, I will. Thank you.
Got one.
Thank you. Thank you
Yeah.
for that, Jim. I appreciate that. We all appreciate that. What a nice treat. Okay.
Very good.
So township and city stuff, just so I finish that before I deter from that. Kenosha is helping us with the board, and we meant the sign up at Pike Lake. So just want to make sure that we mention that again during this portion, and thank them again for that. Anything else on anyone's mind before we adjourn? All right, item number 14. Who wants it? A motion to adjourn.
So moved.
There's a motion by Lynn. Is there a second?
Second by Amy.
Thank you, Amy. Does anyone have any questions about that?
Yeah, on the way out all day.
All right. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. 8:40.
Who will our next generation be? What will they achieve? At Proctor Public Schools, we see great things in the future as we create an environment to educate, engage, and inspire our students to seek adventure, gain knowledge, and make a difference. What do we see in the next generation? We see greatness. Proctor Public Schools. Don't just plan to graduate. Graduate with a plan.